All right, welcome everyone to the Countdown to Engineers Week webinar. My name is CSR. I'm the Director of Communications and Programs for Discover E. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Discover E, we like to say we're the E in STEM. We stand for all things engineering. And our community that we support is educators and volunteers. With everybody that we work with, our coalition of 150 different organizations, we reach about 6 million students and parents a year through our community of 50,000 volunteers and educators. So thank you all for helping us to engage kids in engineering and celebrate engineers. So that's a little bit about me, but I'd love to know something about you. Would you please take our poll and let us know who you are? And it looks like the majority are engineer volunteers, though if we add in the STEM non-engineer professionals, the teachers and educators are very well represented here today. So thank you very much. And let's see, I'll go to the next slide. So Engineers Week is a time to celebrate engineers and all the amazing things they're doing, while at the same time engage students in engineering. And sometimes the celebrate engineers gets lost to the engaged students. So the 10 ideas that I'm gonna share with you today are really about both of those aspects. Now, when I shared my slide deck with my colleague Leslie, she said, "Whoa, that's a lot of ideas you're throwing at folks, and Engineers Week is really only 6 weeks away. They won't be able to do everything." And I'm like, no, this isn't about you guys doing everything. This is just a series of ideas that you can use. You don't have to use. They might hopefully trigger new ideas for you. So really just as we go through this, weigh and examine which ones work for you and how you might want to apply it. And everything I'm going to talk about is also on our website at discovere.org. So you don't feel like you have to memorize things or write things down. It's all there. So the first thing, let's not keep Engineers Week a secret. Let's tell people it's Engineers Week. And a couple of ideas. The first 3 ideas are pretty easy, right? You can hang up the poster, which you can order, which is free, so that's cheap and easy. Post a message on social, add it to your email signature line if you're allowed. So next 3 are a little bit more in depth. If you want to write an article, we have lovely slides that you can put up on your lobby monitors if you have those. Or some of you, I know, secure proclamations from your local mayors or congresspeople saying that it's Engineers Week. However you want, the main gist here is just to share with folks that it's Engineers Week and what Engineers Week is all about. So the next one is to talk about engineers and all the great things they're doing, how they're changing the world. I think a lot of times when we talk about engineering, we forget to tell people what engineers actually do and how they're making a difference. So when you talk about engineers, don't just talk about the process of becoming an engineer or just end with engineers solve problems. Talk about how they're impacting the world and what those actual problems are. We have some great resources for you. 5 powerful messages you can share about engineering. It's an easy PDF. We have an online training that takes about 40 minutes on how to talk effectively to kids about engineering if you want to take that. And then our perennial favorite, 10 Reasons to Love Engineering. This is a great list just to review and look at, because it kind of jazzes folks about what engineers do and why engineering is a rewarding career. But it's also something you can easily share with students. So next up is to do engineering activities. And this is one that lots of folks do, and I just wanted to take a minute and remind us all of why we might want to do these engineering activities. And there's all kinds of great studies out there that showcase that the engineering activities, those used, following the engineering design process, those larger project-based learning really have some great benefits to students, especially in reinforcing their science and math concepts and motivating them. And we like to say that engineering is the gateway to science, math, and technology. E equals and SMT, if you will. And that if you use the engineering activities, it really helps kids understand those concepts they're learning in science and math and reinforcing all of that. So I just wanted to review a couple of the really great activities we have compiled on our website. This is a brand new one called Test Flight. And students are challenged with just a piece of paper, a spoon, and some paper clips, and a little tape you can see there, to design an airplane that can glide down a zip line the fastest. And that's from our friends at Design Squad. This is an activity that comes from our training on bringing engineering into your classroom, but challenging kids to design a candy dispenser. I know some of you say, hey, I can't have food in my classroom, or I don't want to encourage that, but you can change out what they're dispensing if you don't want to dispense food. Another one is a clever way to water, and that's keeping a potted plant watered for a week with no one around. So one thing I want to share is we have over 140 activities and lesson plans, and you can sort them by any which way you want. But we've worked really hard over the last several years to really make sure that our collection of activities are engineer focused. They're all organized around the engineering design process. They all have connections to engineering specifically. So we really wanted to weed out activities that were demonstrations, and these are really more hands-on, minds-on activities that you'll find here. All right, so we're whipping right through this. Our fourth tip is if you're an engineer, go and visit a classroom. And if you're an educator, invite an engineer into your classroom. 93% of our survey respondents who are educators say that bringing an engineer into their classroom is a good use of instructional time. And then we hear from both engineers and technicians and educators, okay, Thea, that's a fabulous idea, but how do I actually do that? Last year, we got a tip from our partner, Steve Smalley at Northrop Grumman, said, when he calls a school to say, hey, I'd like to present engineering to some kids, he really relies on saying, I'm doing this as part of Engineers Week, which is an international celebration of engineers and aimed at getting kids interested in engineering. And that opens quite a few doors to different schools. So if you're an engineer, tie yourself to that. Also, if you're an engineer, go down to your human resources department or your community engagement office and see if they already have relationships with schools or they're already doing something. And the last tip for engineers is team up. Don't do it alone. Go with a colleague because A, it's more fun for you. B, it takes off a little bit of the workload. But really the most important reason is it reinforces the message to kids that engineers work in teams and they don't sit in a cube all day doing math problems. Now, educators, we hear from you all the time, okay, how can I find an engineer? I definitely want to invite one in. Again, I'd like to invite someone in for Engineers Week and contacting these different groups. There's also a website called FabSem, FABSEM.org. And that's a national website that has women engineers and scientists who have said that they would be willing to go into classrooms or work with students. So you can look directly there for specific people who you might be able to reach out to and engage. But don't be shy about calling up and saying, hey, would someone be willing to come in? Because we know we have anecdote after anecdote where when an engineer goes into a classroom and works with kids, a lot of times a great relationship is born. It's not off. It doesn't mean, it can be a one-time experience, but it often can be like, hey, I'd love to come back, or hey, what else do you need? How else can we help you? From the engineers to the educators. So don't be shy. Reach out to each other and start that process. And the other thing I'd say is I keep harping on Engineers Week, Engineers Week, Engineers Week. And this doesn't just have to happen in the third week of February. This is something that you can do all year long. All right. So now our next three tips are things that you can show kids. So Dream Big is our large screen movie that premiered 2 years ago and has won so many different awards. But it highlights the stories of 3 female engineers and a group of engineering students, high school, and I think both are high school students. It's very inspiring and has just been an amazing resource. One thing to know, educators, every public school in the US, courtesy of the American Society of Civil Engineers and their members, are receiving a free DVD in the mail. And that should be arriving in the next couple of weeks. There are a few locations like Minnesota, some places in Texas that you won't get your DVD until June because your local museums still have the exclusive rights to show that video or that movie. So if you haven't got it, you might want to check back and say, okay, are we in one of those blackout zones? But you can show the movie and do hands-on activities, and it's a really engaging way to get kids interested. And that movie is runtime is about 42, 44 minutes. This year, the next tip, share engineering in unusual places. We did Discover E for the very first time. We did a webinar, or webcast really, for middle school students, showcasing 3 engineers, one from Northrop Grumman, who is studying polar bear habitats. They designed a drone that could go to the Arctic and look at the work with the San Diego Zoo to figure out what's going on and how they can assist polar bears in their melting habitat. We had another engineer, Mimi, from our friends at Floor, who was talking about how being an engineer, she's defining and finding her STEM style, and how you can as well, really showcasing that engineering is kind of beyond, it's part of your whole persona and how it seeps into all areas of your life. And how she uses it by day. She's a systems engineer, and then in her spare time, she is a fashion designer, and how engineering and the engineering design process helps her in all things. And then our last presenter was a human factors engineer from UL, and talked about designing medical devices and how they work, kind of iteratively over and over to make sure that the devices that we're, putting into market are intuitive for patients and doctors to understand, and nurses, medical professionals. So it's great, and it runs about 50 minutes, and it is a great resource for you to share. That is on everything I said is on discovery.org. And then if you aren't involved in Future City, our competition for middle school students that asks them to design and build a city that exists 100 years in the future, a great way to find out what it's all about is to tune in on Tuesday, February 19th, starting at 8:30 in the morning. We will be streaming our live competition. This will be the last 5 teams from the US, Canada, Egypt, and China. We have regional competitions around the world, and they'll be presenting their cities. And this year's challenge is asked students to design an electrical grid that can withstand a natural disaster and quickly recover from that disaster. So I encourage you to check it out if you're an engineer. It's a great way to understand what's involved, and next year we'll be making a call to you for volunteers or being a mentor. And if you're an educator and want to see a little bit more about what's involved, you obviously don't have to watch the whole thing, but if you tune in around 10:30 Eastern time, you can check out one of the teams and kind of see what they're presenting and see what it's all about. Or of course you can watch the whole thing because it's really fun and exciting. We're getting close. Tip 8, host a friendly engineering competition. Educators, our partners at Floor, every year offer an Engineers Week engineering challenge. And you can go to sciencebuddies.org/floor challenge. I believe that challenge will open up in the next couple of weeks. And there are cash prizes for the teams that win. And this is based on a organization-wide competition that Floor hosts every year between all of their offices around the world. So engineers, you don't have to do an international competition. They've been doing theirs for 25 years, but sometimes it's fun to, you get to do hands-on activities with kids, but what about challenging some of your colleagues during Engineers Week? We know a lot of engineering colleges and undergrads are doing it, so bring a little fun and excitement of Engineers Week into your office. You can offer prizes, you can offer snacks, however you do it. Those same activities that are on our website would be great to see if your colleagues and friends would like to try their hand at test flight or the candy dispenser activity. All right, so number 9, celebrate amazing engineers and their accomplishments. Are there local awards? Does your local engineering society or company have awards? Look around and say, hey, this person's doing a great job. I'd like to nominate them. Organize an Engineers Week lunch or dinner, or attend. We know that communities across the US are hosting Engineers Week lunches or dinners. It's a great opportunity to sit back and kind of recognize all of the great work that engineers are doing. Share their story on social media. And educators, if you want to celebrate amazing engineers, it's just, say thanks to an engineer that you know, or post their story on social media, or if you have an engineer that you've been working with, thank them publicly for all the great help that they've been giving you to encourage kids to pursue engineering. And tip number 10, when I was doing this, I was like, whoa, there's way more than 10. But giving anyone more than 10 ideas is way too much. So you can gather more ideas at discovery.org. We hope that anything you do, you'll post your activities at our upcoming events page. If you haven't already ordered your kit, there's still time to order it and get it before Engineers Week. And we have an Engineers Week kit and a Girl Day kit. You can just go to our shop at this one's a little tricky. It's shop.discovery.org. We also have photos and ads and posters. If you go to our download section, there's all kinds of great things you can use to help with your Engineers Week plans, to promote it, to share with other folks and just tell folks about Engineers Week. And then on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, we're always continually building our community. It's a great place to steal ideas from others. And if you simply Google Engineers Week 2019, you will see 90 different pages, not just, like 18,000 returns of all the different things people are doing for Engineers Week. And you can kind of look around and see what folks are doing, tie yourself to some of those, or steal their ideas outright, because it's just borrowing, and we're all in it for a good cause. So on our shop, besides the kit, we also have some great t-shirts and giveaways, our buttons and rulers and pencils and stickers and some groovy water bottles. We work hard to keep the prices down on everything, so take a look and see what if there's anything there you'd like to purchase. And then, of course, Discover E is more than just Engineers Week. During Engineers Week is our Girl Day, Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day. That's February 21st. We have planning guides. We have a girls' night out event. We have our volunteer kit. We will be doing an event live from Capitol Hill on February 13th. We'll be streaming that. And if you mark your calendars now, you can come back to discovery.org and it'll be streaming right from our website. So you can check in and see what folks are saying about Girl Day this year. Our global marathon is our free conversations for women in engineering, and we are going to be running starting on March 6th every Wednesday at noon. We'll be offering sessions on how to overcome the confidence gap, or what's your cultural IQ. You can also, for Discover E Global Day of the Engineer, I'm asking everyone to take a survey, and that will be launched on February 5th to celebrate. We're really looking at celebrating engineering and finding out the differences around the world. So we hope that you'll take the survey and share it with friends. On social media, these are all of our tags and where you can follow us. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're also on LinkedIn, and we hope you'll join us during Engineers Week. So are there any questions that folks have? My colleague Ellen will kind of go through any questions people have typed in and let me know.
Yes, we do have some questions that have come in. One that I'll just answer quickly are folks asking if this recording will be made available. Also, for those who might have missed that in the beginning of the webinar, yes, it will indeed, and we will, as attendees, you will get a link to that recording within a day or so. And we can also post the slides to this presentation. I know a few people were asking for that, and we'd be happy to post those on discovery.org in our resources section. Another question came in, just following up on the fact that ASE will be sending a copy out of Dream Big to all the public schools. This question is from a K-12 STEM outreach manager who works with works with schools, and is wondering if you were an outreach manager at a university, would you be eligible to get a copy of the show that way?
Not the free copy, but if you are, you can stream the show on Netflix. It's streaming live on Netflix right now. You can also purchase a copy on Amazon. But we do ask that if you're going to do that, you send us a form telling us about your event, and we'll just give you a quick approval, because we just want to make sure that we are not violating any of the agreements with the museums that are showing it. So if you go to discovery.org/dreambig and do community screenings, the information is there on how to do all of that. Now, teachers, you will be getting your free copies. K-12 teachers, you'll be getting your free copies in the mail shortly. So it's a little interesting between how engineers and volunteers get the film versus how educators can get the film, and some of it is just viewing rights that we have to be aware of. So thank you all for understanding that. And if you didn't, just email me and I'll answer your question.
Great, thanks, Thea. Another question here asking, can we order more than one engineer's kit?
Yes, you can. And if you are one of our engineering, depending on the organization you're with, we can give you more than one kit. So on the shop, you can just say, hey, I'd like to order, you can order your one, but I think there is a place where you can say, I'd like to order more than one, and my colleague Karen Kuhn will help you out.
Great, thank you. Let's see. We have another question about, back to Dream Big for a moment, just about reiterating the age level for the film, what's recommended, and for the age level.
It was designed for middle school, but we have seen kids as young as kindergartners really enjoy the film, and students in high school. So I really think it spans the ages. We went for that sweet spot in middle school, but there's really something in it for everybody.
Great, thank you. Let's see, can we print a T-shirt locally if we can send the design? I'll make sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to do that, you're certainly welcome to download our art and do that. But I don't think we would send you the artwork specifically for our T-shirts. We've worked hard to keep the prices down. Like I said, but I don't think we could send you the design for those T-shirts to print them locally. I'm sorry about that. You can take our logo and do it, and we wouldn't stop. We can't stop there.
Great. So many questions came in about our kits and Dream Big video. So I'm excited to, sounds like a lot of folks will be planning on using those resources, which is terrific. Yeah. Okay, I'll just give it another moment to see if any new questions pop in. I think, yeah, I think that'll do it.
Happy Engineers Week, and thank you from all of us at Discover E. Thank you for all you do to celebrate engineers and engage students in engineering, not just during Engineers Week, but all year long. Please stay in touch. You can email us at info@discovere.org, and really check out that website. It's so rich. It has so many resources that you'll never get bored. You'll always find a new page, but lots of great stuff on there for you to use, and we're always constantly adding and updating. So thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.